The other day, I decided to meet my girlfriend who I met online after 2.5 years. But the next day, during the company's anniversary celebration, the newly inaugurated general director appeared for the first time. I secretly took photos of my female boss and sent them to my friends to show off her amazing beauty. But immediately, I was caught red-handed by her. She coldly criticized me, saying that as an employee, I should focus on the company's work and not think nonsense. My face turned red. I felt so embarrassed that I wanted to apparate to save some face. As soon as the party ended, I immediately ran to the female general manager's office to explain. But when the door opened, I suddenly stopped dead in my tracks because I saw a clay doll on her desk. Isn't that doll a birthday gift I personally made for my girlfriend I met online a few days ago? It also has my initials engraved on it. When I realized that, I suddenly felt cold down my spine. Could it be that this newly appointed general director is my online girlfriend of 3 years? When I determined that the female boss in front of me was a girlfriend I had never met, I immediately felt nervous. Blushing, I asked, "Is that doll made by her boyfriend?" Lu Nu-yin gently touched the doll's head. A rare gentleness flashed in her eyes. But immediately, she retracted her smile and scolded me. "What does this have to do with you? If you shouldn't ask, don't ask. What are you doing here?" I shyly raised my hand to touch my nose, reluctantly looking away from the doll. "Mr. Liu, I didn't mean to steal your photo just now. It's just that you look so much like my girlfriend that I couldn't help it," I said honestly. Although this reason is fabricated, in the current situation it seems very convincing. However, Lu Nu-yin clearly did not believe it at all. She smiled coldly. "Can you think of any more unreasonable reason? Look at your lustful appearance. How can any girl with poor eyesight like you?" My face immediately turned a little black. Thinking about how bad my first impression was in her eyes, I just wanted to drag my best friend out and beat me. It's all because he keeps asking to see pictures of beautiful people. At the same time, I also silently spat at Lu Nu-yin in my heart. When she chatted with me online, she was so gentle. How could I expect that in real life she would speak so harshly? Furthermore, how could a girl claiming to be a new graduate go to work become such a powerful female general manager? After leaving the office, I took out my phone and sent Lu Nu-yin a cute fox sticker. She almost immediately replied, "Dear husband, what's the matter? Who makes you unhappy?" The office door is not completely closed. Through the door, I saw Lu Nu-yin happily holding her phone and texting. The smile on her lips was completely different from her cold expression just now. She gritted her teeth and replied, "Just got scolded by my boss. She said no girls would pay attention to men like you." The phone on the other side immediately exploded with messages. I worriedly raised my head and looked through the crack in the door, afraid that Lu Nu-yin would get suspicious. Quickly grabbing my phone, I ran to the bathroom to answer the message. In the dialogue box, Lu Nu-yin is scolding herself severely. How could she say that to my beloved husband? How disgusting. My beloved husband is the kindest, best man in this world. Your boss definitely has eye problems. Dear husband, when we meet, I won't let anyone bully you. Besides her, no one in the company seemed to bully me. I've been working at this company for nearly 2 years. I didn't expect that the girlfriend I met online would become my boss. I even got scolded and slapped by my girlfriend. Who should I call now? The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, so I decided to postpone my meeting with Lu Nu-yin to let her worry for a few days to vent her anger. Immediately texted, "I've been very busy lately, maybe I won't have time this month." "No, my dear husband, I've been looking forward to this meeting for a long time. How can we postpone it?" On the other side, the phone exploded, sending dozens of crying emojis. Faced with the ironic situation that the girlfriend I had known online for 3 years was actually my boss, I couldn't calm down. Feeling extremely frustrated, I had to exit the chat interface and no longer reply. I got a little peace, but it made the whole company tremble. Lu Nu-yin suddenly became irritable. Any department that came to report for work was scolded. First the commercial department, then the finance department were reprimanded one after another. Soon, this fire spread to our department. Because of a small mistake in the plan, Lu Nu-yin called the group into the office. As soon as she opened her mouth, she scolded him like water. She talked nonstop, without a single pleasant sentence. Several colleagues accompanying me all bowed their heads, not daring to say a word. Her stern, lion-like attitude is completely different from her gentle demeanor when chatting online. This kid's acting is pretty good. She looks so dignified. I couldn't help but mutter. Almost said what was in his heart. Old saying, you don't seem to like me very much, do you? I can't help but be convinced. From her eyes, even my small actions were caught. Lu Nuyen frowned and looked at me. The aura of a leader made me suffocate. I quickly waved my hand and explained, how is that possible? Mr. Lu, I deeply appreciate your dedicated guidance and will always keep it in my heart. She snorted coldly and raised her eyebrows. You're quite quick with your tongue. Making a plan shouldn't be bad. Then I'll leave this plan to you to rework and submit to me before work tomorrow. Under the sympathetic eyes of my colleagues, my mind immediately froze. Damn, work time is almost over and she's forcing me to redo the plan by myself and have to submit it tomorrow night. Obviously, you want me to stay up all night working. Lu Nuyen, you're very good. Since you've played a game of oppressing me so publicly, don't blame me for being cruel behind your back. I angrily returned to my seat when I received a text message from Lu Nuyen. Husband, don't be angry with me anymore. My baby misses you so much. I won't push you to meet anymore. Can we wait until you're free to continue? Because I wanted to save my colleagues from hot water, I had to sacrifice myself a little. After a few seconds of hesitation, I texted back. Okay, let me think about it. Seeing that I finally replied, she sent text messages continuously. Great. Husband, you're finally willing to talk to me. Tomorrow is your birthday. We may not see each other, but this year I definitely have to send it to you. I made a promise. I can't change my mind. Finally, there is also a cute sticker included. In 3 years of online love, I have never told her my home address. Several times she begged to send gifts. I refused because I didn't want her to think I was a materialistic man. But every year on her birthday, I always make a gift myself to show my heart. It's not that I'm stingy or love money. I just want to keep this feeling simple. After all, in the past, she always considered herself an ordinary employee. I couldn't bear to add to her financial burden. Now that her identity as a female CEO has been revealed, I have nothing to worry about anymore. Because I wanted my colleague to have a happier working environment, I had to sacrifice myself and send her an address. But it was the apartment complex's delivery post office. In such a large apartment, it was difficult for her to find me. And so that evening, I received a birthday gift sent by Lu Nuyen via fast delivery service. The gift box was beautifully wrapped, filled with paper stars inside. Accompanied by a luxurious yet sophisticated mechanical watch, the handwritten note also had a faint scent of perfume, exactly like the scent on her body. Clean handwriting. Every stroke of the pen exudes sophistication. Every word contains her passionate feelings for me. Just a few short sentences made my heart flutter. Lu and Yen and I met each other 5 years ago. At that time, she had just broken up with her first love. In a drunken state, she sent a confiding message to the online wishing jar. Normally, I don't play these things, but that day I somehow went there and accidentally picked up her message. Seeing her hurtful confessions, I couldn't help but write a long, consoling paragraph. And that's how we started the story. After making friends on WeChat, we chatted for more than a year. Then through Lu T, we started falling in love online. Even though it's online love, I still have principles. You can make it public, you can use couple photos, but don't show your face, don't make video calls, and don't meet each other. At first, she did not agree, but could not resist my persistence, so she accepted. So this relationship lasted for 3 years. 3 years cannot be said to be too long, but it is not short either. The love that has been cultivated during that time cannot be measured in numbers. I took out my phone and texted him thanking him for receiving the gift. He really liked it. Thank you. She quickly replied, it's okay if your husband likes it. Each star in the box was folded by me. 999 stars represent eternal love. Wishing my husband a happy birthday. Oh, that's right. I also made the keychain myself. You must always carry it with you. I searched through the pile of paper copies and sure enough, there was a handmade doll-shaped keychain. Anyway, it was her heart, so I immediately put it in my bag to take with me. Very quickly after that, she texted again. Husband, are you still angry with me? Why don't you call me your wife or baby anymore? Before, when we first fell in love, I called Yin my beloved wife and baby all day long. But since I found out that she was my boss, I really couldn't open my mouth to say those cheesy words anymore. It feels so weird. After a long psychological struggle, I finally reluctantly typed the words, "baby, dear wife," into the chat area and sent it. This way of addressing clearly made Lu Nuyen extremely satisfied. Early the next morning, she broke the custom of ordering coffee for the whole company, drawing in a huge wave of sympathy. But unfortunately, I buried my head in trying to figure out a new plan. I was so stressed all day that my hair almost fell out. Finally, after 3 hours of work, I completed the task. I was so tired that when I got home, I immediately fell asleep. My phone was full of messages, but I couldn't see a single one. The next morning, I was awakened by a knock on the door. As soon as he opened the door, the apartment manager stood breathlessly in front of the door, holding a pile of parcel boxes on the ground. "A dozen or so more," he said. I was dumbfounded. The manager tried to give a forced smile. "You have these packages, all of them yours, right? There were nearly 20 packages sent last night, all of them high value. The receiving place had no space to store them, so I brought them up for you." I bowed my head and looked at the sky. Everything was sent by Lu Nuyen via express delivery. 1982 Lafite wine, limited edition Moutai wine, and a box of ginseng worth more than tens of millions. Is she crazy? Although the delivery address did not specifically state the house number, the manager had helped me receive items before, so this time he was able to accurately determine my location. I quickly thanked him and sent the manager away, then turned on my phone. Because I was so tired, I slept too deeply last night. I don't know Lu at all, but Yin sent me nearly 100 messages without receiving a response. She was so impatient that she couldn't contact her, so she turned to spam and sent parcels. I quickly texted to explain, saying that my boss forced me to work on the plan all night, and I was so tired that I fell asleep and couldn't read the message. After much coaxing, Lu Nuyen calmed down and promised me that he would not send parcels again in the future. That night, the manager arranged for me to go out to eat with the customer. This project is related to the company's development direction in the next half year, so Lu Nuyen attaches special importance to it and decided to go with us. The person in charge of the partner side is an alcoholic. Every time we negotiate cooperation, we suffer so much that we don't know what's going on. This time, seeing that Lu like Yin was a beauty, he gained even more momentum and continuously forced her to drink alcohol. It's not reasonable for President Lu to sit at the banquet table without drinking alcohol. If you don't drink, it's like disrespecting me. How can we cooperate? Lu Nuyen's face darkened, clearly showing extreme patience. She hesitated for a moment, then finally picked up the glass of wine. I suddenly remembered the text message she sent me this morning, saying that today my period was very uncomfortable. So reflexively, I stood up and grabbed the glass of wine from her hand. "You can't drink alcohol today." In that moment, all eyes at the banquet table simultaneously turned to me. Lu Nuyen also looked at me in surprise. Her face under the light seemed to blush a little pink. Realizing my actions were a bit over the limit, I smiled wryly and sat down. Then, secretly took out his phone and texted her, "Baby, today is a special day. Don't eat cold food." Almost as soon as the message arrived, Lu Nuyen immediately picked up the phone. The corner of her lips curled up into a sweet smile, making my heart warm as well. As commanded, I will listen to my beloved husband. From then on, no matter how much her partner pressured her, Lu Nuyen did not touch a drop of alcohol. I had to take the responsibility instead. As a result, after the party, I drank a lot. Leaving the restaurant, I staggered after Lu like Yin. At this time, a waiter carrying a bowl of hot soup walked over and almost bumped into her. After all, it was the person I had loved online for 3 years. Seeing that she was in danger, I instinctively rushed to pull her out. The familiar scent enveloped me. At the same time, Lu Yin's whole body fell into my arms. My shoulder hit the corner of the table so hard it hurt so much that I bared my teeth and rolled my eyes. The next second, a soft feeling touched my cheek. I was unexpectedly kissed by Lu Nuyen. She was stunned for a few seconds, then stood up in panic, her face red, confused, and said, "Thank you. Are you okay?" As I asked, I reached towards my school bag. I quickly lifted the bag up, blocking her view. "It's nothing, it's just a toy I bought at the market. I just bought it to play with, it's not worth it." Lu Nuyen's face immediately darkened and looked at me with suspicious eyes. Then, angry, she turned and left. At this point, I realized I had said something wrong and wished I could slap myself in the face twice. Sure enough, not long after, a text message from Lu's house like Yin arrived. Husband, does the decoration I made for you with my own hands look very similar to the ones on the market? Do you hate it? Immediately followed by a series of crying emojis. If I knew there would be so many troubles like this today, I'd rather not go to that party. What a pain for myself. I can only be bold enough to comfort her. How is that possible? What my wife made for me is unique. I really like it. I sent a series of kiss and hug stickers in a row. The other side has calmed down somewhat. Lu like Yin doesn't often wear makeup. Normally, she rarely even applies lipstick. The soft and fragrant feeling when she kissed my face still lingers. I couldn't help but reach out and touch the place where I had just been kissed, recalling that feeling, and then quickly withdrew my hand. Don't touch me anymore. Touching me again would seem a bit perverted. Anyway, there are still many opportunities in the future. I decided to wait, mentally prepare well, and find an opportunity to confess my identity to Lu like Yin, soon turning online love into real life. But I have the feeling that Lu and Yin have begun to doubt me. Work still had to continue as usual, just different from before. I started intentionally avoiding her. But strangely enough, no matter how I hid, the frequency of her appearing in front of me increased more and more. Every time I see her, she looks at me with searching eyes, making me panic and restless. So much so that my colleague sitting at the next table couldn't help but whisper, "Kogan, have you offended Mr. Lu lately? Why do I see her looking at you all the time?" I quickly glanced towards Lu Yin's office and angrily replied, "There's no such thing." The other colleague smiled meaningfully, lowered his voice, and said, "So she definitely likes you. Don't forget us when you go to hometown in the future. This will have more or less an impact on girls." Of course, I didn't dare to admit it so casually. I could only pretend to scroll through my phone and then show a photo of the watch that Lu Yin gave me in front of my colleagues. "Don't talk nonsense, brother. I already have a girlfriend. Look, this is the birthday gift she gave me a few days ago." At first, I just wanted to cut off rumors with Lu like Yin. But unexpectedly, after seeing the photo, his colleagues almost jumped up. "Damn, bro, that's really cool. Is your girlfriend a rich person? A limited edition review watch worth over 100 million can be given as a gift." Hearing him say that, I was also shocked. Normally, I don't research much about luxury brands. I just know that watch is definitely not cheap, but I didn't expect it to cost more than 100 million. My colleague's curiosity was immediately aroused. Wanting to continue asking more questions, I quickly pretended to have a stomach ache and ran to the bathroom. On the way, I suddenly saw a strange man entering Lu's office like Yin. From my angle, I could clearly see him approaching her smiling. "Lu Yin, right before we broke up, I was reluctant. Can you forgive me? I heard that because of you, you couldn't eat or sleep well, cried for several days. This time you came here specially, you must still have me in your heart. Let's come back. I will definitely treat you well from now on." It is true that there is a type of man who has the ability to make people lose all sympathy in just a second. The moment he saw him, Lu Yin's face immediately darkened. The scarab has disguised itself for many years, but still smells the same. Chew then. He really hasn't changed at all. It turns out that's the name of Lu's scumbag ex-boyfriend like Yin. She once told me about him, but after we established a relationship, she stopped talking about him. Why did he suddenly appear? Looking at Yin's cold attitude and sarcastic words, I clenched my fists and then slowly relaxed. There were many colleagues walking around, so I didn't feel comfortable continuing to eavesdrop, so I quickly went to the bathroom. During lunch, I overheard my colleagues talking. "Tell me, Mr. Chu is truly a match for our President Lu. He's both handsome and has status, a perfect match. Looking at the way he treats her, it's unlikely they'll get back together." I clenched my fist so hard that I almost broke the chopsticks in my hand. There was an indescribable sour feeling in my heart. I'm just an ordinary person. All my family's assets are enough to put down a deposit for a house. Every month, I still struggle to pay the house and car payments. This gap makes me suddenly feel self-conscious. I have to admit that Lu Yin and I do not belong to the same world. The blanket poked all night. I decided I'd rather have short pain than long pain. Instead of waiting until her family came forward to stop her, I could have proactively ended it so she could leave more peacefully. I wrote and deleted and wrote again, It took half an hour to send a message. I've been thinking for a long time. We're not suitable. I don't want to ruin your life anymore. Let's break up. After all, it was a love that lasted more than 3 years, so the moment the message was sent, a loud pain rushed into my heart. Turns out, this is what breaking up feels like. It's really annoying. When I decided to break up, I sent back the watch worth over 100 million that Lu Yin gave me, along with expensive bottles of wine and other life-related things. Not long after, my phone was bombarded with messages. I took a quick glance. They were all text messages from Lu like Yin, but I didn't dare to open them, and I didn't dare to read them carefully, afraid that my heart would soften. Therefore, I decided to delete her as friends. The next day, during lunch, I heard a colleague talk about seeing General Manager Lu secretly wiping tears in the office. At that time, I felt very uncomfortable, looking at the boxed lunch. Without my sense of taste, I began to wonder if I was being too mean. At that moment, a colleague approached me and continued with the idle story. The saying goes, let me take a look at the review watch that the tycoon's girlfriend gave you, so I can admire it a bit. I was in a confused mood, not in the mood to talk, so I blurted out the answer. We broke up. The next second, I heard a familiar voice from behind. What watch? Reflexively, I turned my head and met Lu Yin's eyes, slightly red, making me startled. Before he could react, the colleague next to him hastily said, "This month is my great-grandfather's birthday, and his rich girlfriend gave me a review watch worth more than 100 million. I immediately laughed it off and explained, "No, it's not. I'm just kidding." I didn't expect him to believe it was true. My colleague still wanted to say something more, so I quickly pulled him away, but the hot eyes behind me were still glued to me, making me feel really uncomfortable. Luckily, Lu Yin didn't chase me, so I breathed a sigh of relief. But it seems that in order to completely erase doubts about me, I have to think of another way. Before this big problem is resolved, new trouble will come. The company opened a new recruitment period, and my cousin happened to be recruited for the job. Being the most talkative person in the family, since joining the company as an intern, she has voluntarily accepted the tasks my mother assigned her. That's urging me to get married so I can have peace of mind. I had to use 3 years of online love to silence him. What? Love online for 3 years? Do you consider me a 3-year-old child? How can such a stupid reason be said? She glanced at me, her face full of disbelief. Unless you show proof. If not, don't blame me for being rude. I had to point towards Lu Yin's office and reluctantly admitted, "She is my online girlfriend, her." "You mean President Lu?" My cousin immediately seethed. After listening to me tell the whole love story, he patted his chest and promised, "Don't worry. With me here, I will definitely help you bring the beauty home soon. Go." If it wasn't because I was patient and alert enough, the beauty would have already entered my heart. Why would I need you? He already proposed to break up. She also doesn't know my true identity, so don't cause trouble. I glared threateningly, afraid that she would secretly do something. My cousin raised his eyebrows and chuckled. "Don't worry, I'm very conscientious about what I do." "Stop it, I don't feel secure at all." Sure enough, the next day, this killer cousin caused trouble. The company holds a welcome party for new employees. I thought that Lu Yin, as the general manager, would not participate in this basic activity, so I participated with the mentality that I could eat every meal or that meal. Unexpectedly, as soon as she sat down, Lu Yin pushed open the door and walked in. I quickly turned my head and pretended to chat with my colleagues, deliberately hiding my anxiety. My cousin Kovan suddenly came closer and intimately took my arm. "Darling, what are you busy with? Mom kept calling but you didn't answer, so I called you." I quickly looked at my phone. There were indeed several missed calls from my mother. Because it was a company party and I had to sit at the same table with Lu Yin, I was afraid that she would send a message that, if the message persisted, could cause unnecessary suspicion. To avoid risks, I turned off the computer. I got up and left the room to call my mother again. When I turned around, Lu Yin was already standing behind me. "Who was that girl just now? Why does she call you darling?" Lu Yin's voice was gentle, but carried a bit of indescribable resentment. I was startled and quickly realized she was talking about Kovan. Honestly answered, "Mr. Lu, she is my cousin who just joined this internship." Kovan, my cousin who didn't know this, must have deliberately called me darling to provoke Lu Yin. I was negligent in letting that girl achieve her goal. To avoid controversy, I never told any of my colleagues that Van was my cousin. But I didn't expect Lu Nu-yin to proactively ask. If I continued to hide it, it would look even more suspicious, so I had to confess. After listening, Lu Nu-yin's expression gradually relaxed. She nodded and returned to the room. I feel a bit strange. The phone rings again. I opened it and saw that my cousin had changed her emotional state from the crying face icon to the smiling face icon. How strange. Lately it seems like she's constantly changing her mood. Sometimes it's sunny and sometimes it's rainy. Don't know what to do. While eating, someone tried to make the atmosphere happy and started asking if Lu Nu-yin was still single. Lu Nu-yin calmly took a sip of water and then shook her head to deny. No, I have a boyfriend for 3 years. Everyone looked at each other in surprise. Does President Lu already have a boyfriend? Next time, definitely bring it out for everyone to see. I wonder what kind of person he is that he can have a wonderful girlfriend like our President Lu. A few colleagues who liked to chat also spoke up at the same time. I don't know if it was an illusion or not, but I felt Lu Nu-yin's eyes flickering across me, making me restless. Does she already know my true identity? I raised my glass to drink water, hiding my sudden panic. Under the table, Kovan pinched my thigh hard. Ah! I exclaimed. Facing the eyes of the whole table, I had to endure the pain and glance at the troublemaker. That's right, we have to bring it out for everyone to see. Lu Nu-yin looked at my strange expression. The corners of his eyes curled up, carrying a hint of a smile. Okay, I will definitely show him to everyone soon. I avoided her eyes and casually replied, That's good, that's good. Then, accidentally, I looked up and saw Lu Nu-yin's eyes looking at me. I don't know if it's a hallucination or not. I feel like I'm in. Her eyes flashed with an incomprehensible smile. When I was about to learn more, it disappeared like a breeze. After the meal, colleagues became even more daring and began to gossip about who was single. I feel like I'm sitting on a fire. But in the end, there was no escape. Soon, people were asking about me. Brother, didn't you just break up with your rich girlfriend? Let me introduce you to someone. My sister is 24 years old, white skin, pretty figure, long legs. Want to get to know her? I casually replied, Okay. But immediately, Lu Nu-yin slammed the table and stood up. His eyes looked straight at me. Kogan, come out with me for a moment. I need to talk to you. I swallowed my saliva. I was extremely opposed, but my body still had to follow her. As soon as I reached the emergency exit, Lu Nu-yin pushed me against the wall. Her voice was both angry and sad. Kogan, so if I don't expose you, you won't ever admit to me. I was stunned and lowered my head to look at her. At this moment, Lu Nu-yin was very close to me, her face only a few centimeters away. Her sparkling eyes seemed filled with starlight, making my heart beat faster. Breathing is also rapid. I quickly turned my head away from her eyes, hiding my panic. General Lu, what are you talking about? I do not understand. She pursed her lips, her body pressed closer. The warm breath blowing on my neck made my heart even more confused. It's come to this, why don't you admit it? Husband, did I do something wrong to make you angry? Before he could finish his sentence, Lu Nu-yin's tears fell. The pitiful look on his face made my heart even more confused. If it wasn't for fear of scaring her, I really wanted to hug her right now. After a few seconds of hesitation, I sighed and admitted. Stop crying. I don't dare admit it because I'm still thinking about whether this relationship should exist or not. She raised her head to look at me. Her eyes were red, a few tears still remaining. Should it exist? What do you mean? I sighed and continued. Between you and me, the gap is too big. The opposite is inherently two people from two different worlds. Even if you agree, your family will not accept you and me being together. So why should we? Her warm palm pressed against my mouth, stopping the words that were about to come out. The moment our skin touched each other, we both froze for a moment, then felt like we were electrocuted. Lu Nu-yin quickly withdrew her hand. Even though it only lasted 2 short seconds, I still clearly felt the softness and warmth, the slight trembling in her palm. The atmosphere became oppressive as I looked into those deep eyes. The resentment and disappointment therein were replaced by an unnamed steadfastness. If you're worried about this, there's absolutely no need to worry. My parents will definitely like you. At first, I was still skeptical about her words, until the next day when I was stopped right at my desk by President Lu and his wife. I just realized the true meaning of Lu Nu-Yin's statement, I will like you very much. The president's wife smiled happily and placed a gift box on my desk. The voice was gentle but full of excitement. You are our Nu-Yin's boyfriend, right? Truly an outstanding talent, with an outstanding temperament. The first time we met was a bit rushed. Don't criticize my little gift. When you two get engaged, I will make it up to you more thoughtfully. I stood up, so nervous that I stammered. Mom? No, Dad's not. Finally, after a moment of awkwardness, I was able to blurt out one sentence. Complete sister. Hello, Uncle, hello. The chairman's wife laughed. Her beautiful eyes like Lu Nu-Yin gently looked at me like she was looking at her son. Chairman Lu was still standing there with a serious expression, looking a bit scary. Then he suddenly spoke. You are Ko-Gon, right? I immediately stood up straight. Yes, sir. I have worked at the company for more than 2 years and have met the president several times. But this is the first time I have faced him in a special situation like this. It's actually a bit stressful. Very good. Come play at our house this weekend. I breathed a sigh of relief and awkwardly nodded in agreement. As soon as they left, the whole company exploded. My colleagues who used to talk about my rich girlfriend are now shocked. Damn, Mr. Ko, you really hit it well. I guess that there was something unusual between you and General Lu a long time ago. Yet you still refuse to admit it. Other colleagues also gradually recovered and began to gossip. I didn't know how to explain. I could only stand there confused. At that moment, Lu Nu-Yin walked into the office and held my hand tightly. 10 fingers clasped together. She smiled brightly. Her clear voice rang out. Let me introduce to everyone again. This is my boyfriend, Ko-Gon. Everyone, and I simultaneously took a deep breath. My heart was pounding as if it wanted to jump out of my throat. She openly announced her relationship in such a straightforward way. What? Lu Nu-Yin's small hand clasped mine tightly, her eyes shining like the sun. Now everyone knows you're my boyfriend. Where else can you run? I smiled, slowly squeezing the warm hand in my palm. Don't run, I won't run in this life. That weekend, on New Year's Eve, I brought a carefully prepared gift and followed Lu Nu-Yin to her home. The Lu family's 3-story villa is gorgeous and magnificent, but it gives me an indescribable feeling of warmth. Her parents welcomed me very enthusiastically, as if they wanted to marry their daughter to me tomorrow, making me a bit unable to resist. After dinner, Lu Nu-Yin and I, hand in hand, walked by the river. I couldn't help but ask, I think your parents seem a bit too enthusiastic towards you, don't you think? Lu Nu-Yin tried to hold back her laughter, but finally burst out laughing. Back then, after breaking up with Chu then, I almost went into depression. My parents were very worried, and every few days they introduced me to a date. I kept protesting, saying that I wouldn't get married in the future, just living alone for the rest of my life. After listening, I was shocked. No wonder the two of them were afraid that their beloved daughter really wouldn't get married. So as soon as they found out she had a boyfriend, they immediately wanted to marry her off for peace of mind. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I didn't expect that a wealthy family would be destroyed by me so easily. On the riverbank, there are crowds of people and bright lights. Lu Nu-Yin suddenly came closer to me, leaned close to my ear and whispered, Husband, we can finally celebrate New Year's Eve together this year. I trembled slightly, feeling her warm breath on my ear, making my heart flutter. I hoarsely crouched down and leaned close to her ear. Has anyone ever told you to never whisper in a man's ear like that? Why so? Lu Nu-Yin is truly innocent and adorable. Looking at those big, bewildered eyes, I couldn't hold back anymore, bowed my head and kissed her lips. Because then I would really want to make you mine.